Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm AndyRC and today I'm checking out the Dys Elf. This is a brushless micro quadcopter and it has got a 83mm frame and it's also sporting the tiny whoop style ducts. Now I had some good feedback from the last video when I just basically said whether it is any good or not, so people can either turn off or carry on watching. I will say about this one, it is definitely my favourite model that has come out that's a bind and fly and has these ducts on. So I prefer it to the Aurora 90, I prefer it to the Aurora 68 for a few reasons. In fact, most of my favourite models are coming from GearBest at the moment. So yeah, GearBest sent this in for review and I like it. By the way, that doesn't include the Flex RC PicoX because you can put nylon ducts on that, so that's kind of two models in one, and you can also put a 3S on that, so it doesn't beat that out because this is a 2S model, but I really like this and we'll get onto that. So there's this model that is the AR Fun, which is another brushless micro, but it doesn't have the duct, and that was one of my favourites. And the Fury Bee Fuuton, that 5-inch model, absolutely fantastic models. But anyways, let's get talking about the Dys Elf and why I like it. Well, first of all, you pick it up and it weighs nothing. It weighs 55 grams without its battery, and then it weighs 85 grams with its battery. And there are some downsides to this. The battery is a 2-cell, 600 milliamp, which is fine, but it's kind of proprietary. It looks like it's using a JST connector, but one of the larger ones, maybe a 2mm, something like that, and that connects into the quadcopter underneath there. So sadly, I'm going to have to use the charger that it comes with. So this is the charger that it comes with. It is Dys branded, and you can see there that it charges at 1.8 amp, and this is a 600 milliamp battery, so it's going to charge it just over 2C there, isn't it? Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I'm sure this battery can handle that, so the battery is probably going to charge fairly quickly, and you can see that it's Dys branded there. And does it say the C rating on here? 25C. So the other thing that I like about this, the problem I've been having with these models, is they've been browning out. No problem with this model whatsoever. It has all of the features of the other micros out there. So it has got a built-in F3 flight controller. It's got a on-screen display. It's got a built-in 25 milliwatt VTX, and it is 40 channel. And it's also, and that's at the top here, it's got a little S-bus receiver as well. The motors are Dys branded. They're a high kV motor, so they are a 1102 motor and 10,000 kV. And I was worried they were going to send those 3-blade Dys props that I've been having problems with, but no. They are the 5-blade props, and these are definitely the best props for these micros, and you get given a spare set of those too. So we have a camera up the front there, and we do not have any antennas at the top, but as I say, I've taken this apart and there's a little S-bus receiver at the top there. It's very similar to that receiver that is the AC800, I think. In that, if you plug the battery in, after 6 seconds it gets an auto bind, so you can bind your Taranis with this as well. And then we've got a little port down here, and this is if you want to configure the on-screen display. So it's a multi-wii on-screen display, so it doesn't come with the adapter, like you'd need a little 4-pin Pico JST, and that would go into an FTDI chip. However, we can configure the majority of the things through the on-screen display using the controller, and I'll talk about that more a little bit later. So we have got two buttons here. This one here is a bootloader button, so if you want to flash an updated version of Betaflight, then you can do, but it already comes set up with Betaflight. And then we have the VTX button here as well. So we have got two LEDs, and I don't like the way that this works, if I'm honest. So we have two LEDs here. You can't see them at the moment because the battery's not plugged in, but one is blue and one is red. The blue is the band, and the red is the 8 channels within that band. And then those lights flash on the band or channel that it's on. So let's say for a 40 channel VTX there's 5 bands. So if the blue light is flashing 3 times, then it's on the 3rd band. And then individual presses on this will have the red LED flash. So let's just say that one flashes 4 times, then that's on the 4th channel within that band. I find that a little bit tricky. Now the manual states that this one is power switchable when it comes to the VTX between 25 milliwatt and 200. That is not the case. That is an error in the manual. There's no way to change the power using these buttons, so we are stuck with 25 milliwatt, but that should be ample. The only problem is, can you see there, a little sleeve dipole antenna on the inside? That is the VTX antenna, and when the battery is going to be on top of that, then we are definitely going to be getting some breakup with that. But we're not going to be flying these too far away, but I tell you, has a lot of power. I also like the landing legs on this as well. It protects the battery, but not only that, there's some LEDs underneath there as well, and those shine up down here quite nicely. I can probably show you that. Let's just plug it in there so you can see there that we have got these lighting up. So you could hear the ESCs in there. They are 10 amp BL Heli S ESCs, and they are sort of on a sister board on the top there. Really nice construction. And you heard a beeper. There's also a beeper at the back here as well. So the camera is separate from the VTX board, so it's kind of like all sandwiched together. So yeah, this is the flight controller and VTX board, and then the camera plugs into that, and then the ESCs are sort of, like I say, on a sister board with some standoffs on the top of there, and the camera has a little Pico connector that plugs in, so it's all plug and play. And then so does the S-Bus receiver on the back as well, so imagine you could put all sorts of receivers in there as long as it was 5 volts. But yeah, I really like the construction of this, and it's extremely lightweight. So it weighs just 56 grams, which is incredible for all of this material, really. And then it is 88 grams with the battery installed. And the great thing about this, and this is why it's won over the Aurora series, now I was getting almost a 5-minute flight time in crazy winds outside. They say it will fly for 6 minutes. I imagine indoors and on a calm day you will get a 6-minute flight time out of it, which is pretty incredible. Now they have sent me the RTF version as well, and with the RTF version you get given an FrSky D8 transmitter. Now it's mode 2, so luckily my Taranis will just bind to it as well. Like I say, after 6 seconds of it not getting a bind, it will go into bind mode, and I just bound my Taranis to it. There is just a couple of things on that, but I'll mention that a bit later. Now, yep, so actually, if you get this package, you get given a D8 transmitter that potentially you could use with another model. Now, it has no model memory as far as I can tell, and they say that it's running a version of OpenTX, but it's a very light version of OpenTX and looks very different to the one on the Taranis. And one thing about this transmitter is it's using Xbox style pots. These little sticks here that they have extended does make it feel a lot better though, but it's not going to have the resolution of the Taranis there. But it's a nice transmitter. It takes 4 AA batteries. We don't have any USB port to update the firmware or anything like that. They say the range is good for 300 meters. So I've got the batteries in there, so if I just turn it on, it says a DYS there, and then we've got our trimmers here, and then we've got the enter button here. So we just have a look at the screen here. Tells you that we've got the model name, which you can't change. This is the battery voltage of the transmitter and not the model. And then this is sort of like a timer thing here. If we go into enter here as well, we've got channel monitor just like you have got on the Taranis. So the way that it's set up is on channel 5, that is your arming switch, but motor stop is turned on, so the motors won't spin when it's armed. So that's something that I changed. Here we have a 3-position switch, which is the mode switch, so it's angle, horizon, and acro and air. That's the way that it's set up. This one, I've not seen this before, this switch here, and so that's channel 5, 6, 7. Channel 7 switches the artificial horizon off in the on-screen display, which I've not seen done before, but of course you can turn that completely off. Sadly, it also turns the mode off as well, so whether you're in stability mode, acro mode, yeah, it turns that off too. And then this one is a lost model buzzer, so they really have thought about this. That is a really well thought out layout, I think. But if you want to put it on your Taranis, then I have had to map it the same. So channel 5 for ARM, and then channel 6 for mode, channel 7 for your on-screen display on and off, and I've also doubled that up as well as the lost model alarm on the same switch there as well. So let's just go back there and see what else you can do in here. You can reverse certain channels if you like. Then you can change the channel map, and this is something that I wanted to talk about. If we go in there, if we look at the channel map, it's actually set up as AETR, which is incorrect for the Taranis. So in Betaflight, it was set up as AETR for this transmitter, but if you want to use it with your Taranis, then you're going to have to change that in Betaflight to the channel map of TAER, so that's something that I had to do. If we go back there, it doesn't let me go back. How can I exit out of there? Enter, is it? Yeah, see, it won't let me go back, so I'll just turn the transmitter off. There's probably a way to go back out of that menu, but I couldn't find it. Right, so what else can we do? We can add in Expo and different types of mixers, and then setup here. If you're wondering how do you rebind this transmitter, we've got a bind option there, and see how every time I move these buttons here we get a beep. You can turn that off, which I would recommend because it is quite annoying. Yeah, pretty nice transmitter that it comes with. I'm not going to be using it though because I want to fly this properly in mode 1. But I have to say, it was set up really nicely. I'm going to be using the stock PIDs. I will take you into Betaflight just to show you the couple of things that I changed. Okay, so here we are in the Betaflight configurator. I've already connected it to the computer there, so let's just take a look at the configuration. So no board alignment. This is something that I changed. So I turn motor stop off so that the props spin up when I arm the quadcopter. That everything else here was set fine. I did reduce the battery voltage. I think this was set at 3.3. I just reduced it 1 so that it doesn't go off too early. And then it's got OSD selected here, but of course it's multi-wheel on-screen display. That's only one downside to this model over the Aurora models, really, because you can go through Betaflight's on-screen display with those models. But I think the camera is better on this one and less brownout issues, better flight time, so I have to give it to the Dys model there. So let's just see, is there anything else that I changed? No. Let's go into PID tuning. I just bumped up the Super 8 to 0.8. These are Betaflight stock PIDs here. So the modes, actually the receiver, we have to change it to TAER if you want the Taranis working with it rather than the stock transmitter. Also, you have to plug in the battery for the receiver to power up, so the battery isn't plugged in at the moment. Now these are the modes, so I haven't changed anything at all. This is how it came out of the box. So arming on aux 1, and then we've also got on aux 2 all of our positions. So the first one is angle, horizon, and then acro and air mode at the same time. I think that's a good call because these little models, they tend not to like to descend very quick. Air mode slows that down, so that's pretty good that it's got that selected. And then beeper down here as well, and then the on-screen display switch as well. So that's on the aux 3, so backwards there, so it goes 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So if you're wanting to match up your switches like that. Now I didn't need to calibrate the ESCs, they were all fine. Let's go into the CLI and just show you the version that we have got. So the target is SP Racing F3 and it's version 3.15, so fairly recent version there. Let's disconnect from there and then let's go into BL Heli and click connect, and then let's just plug the battery in to see that we can get BL Heli S on here. Read setup, and there we go, BL Heli 16.6, and it does look like they're all reverse. Looks like someone's gone in there and changed stuff. So yeah, that is the setup. Okay, so I just want to show you a couple of things that I changed on the on-screen display. So it's throttle in the middle, and then yaw fully right, and then pitch forward, and this is our PIDs, but I'm going to leave those the same. So I'm going to yaw over to page over, that's the rates and everything. Now here I'm going to pitch forward, and can you see there, main volts alarm, I've set it as 0, and that is because I don't like the voltage flashing whilst I'm flying. I find it really distracting. It can actually make it difficult to read what the actual voltage is as well, so I put that to 0 and decide myself when I'm to land. And if we page over here, then we have got these here as well. So if you don't like the artificial horizon but like the mode that you're in, so stability, acro or whatever, then you can turn all of these off. Now I didn't actually do this for the flight, but if you change those and then come to the bottom and then you aileron over to save and then yaw again to save. Now if I change the on-screen display switch, you can see that I've got stability, and it then will tell me the mode that I'm in. So that's stability, horizon, and acro and air. So that's how you get rid of the crossbars there, but you can still turn some of the features off on the on-screen display. Okay, let's go for a takeoff with this guy. This is really just to see what the punch is like, and it's an incredibly windy day. Just look at that angle I'm having to put on just to keep it level. Let's go for the punch. Yeah, got loads of punch. Kind of difficult to see it fully in this wind. It's crazy windy. Let's try again. The wind's blowing it away. But yeah, I think it's got a nice amount of punch. And it's handling these horrible winds. Oh yeah, plenty of power. See those LEDs as well. Quite tricky for orientation, line of sight, but you're probably not going to be flying this one line of sight. A little bit of acro, very dangerous in this wind. Try and keep it in close. It's getting away from me very easily though. The weather's not giving me much of a break at the moment. Raining the last few days, raining today. I've just spotted a gap in the weather. I think this is a good one. Sorry if it's not coming out well on the camera, but just look at that angle needed to combat the wind. Really nimble. It's a shame the battery's proprietary, because now in order to do the FPV flight I gotta wait for the battery to charge, and this weather I have to spot my moment, so it doesn't make it fun to review, but oh, it's fun to fly. Don't let it get too far away though, in the orientation. Feels quite locked. Just the stock Betaflight settings. And I've just felt a drop of rain, so I'll bring it in for a landing, and at some point I will do some FPV with it. So sadly the weather conditions didn't get any better, but I decided to fly anyway because it was just about handling it. But this is into wind here, and yeah, pretty much full throttle and struggling to go anywhere, but it was maybe 18 mph wind. You can see there that I've turned on the horizon with that switch there. This is before I removed the horizon in the on-screen display settings, but I just thought I'd show you what it was like. But a lot of people don't like that sort of thing, so it's nice to turn it off. But like I say, it does turn off the mode that you're in, so you could see that I was in acro and air there, but once I turn off the artificial horizon, that disappears. But really all we need is the battery voltage there in the bottom left, and it's nice to have a timer as well, just so you know how long you've been flying. Yeah, I thought this one flew really well. There's a fair amount of breakup on the camera, and I think that is the positioning of the antenna, and I can see people getting these and maybe modifying it, maybe having it point straight down or just moving it somewhere to the outside, because really that is a limitation. Like I say, you know, it's getting a fair amount of breakup. Just look at the angle I'm having to put in just to get it to fly against the wind. It really wanted to blow away there. So this model, yeah, it does hover better and have more power than that X86 jumper that I reviewed the other day. It still doesn't have as much power as a model such as the AR Fun, which is absolutely ballistic, and that's because it doesn't have any ducts on, so it's even lighter. But I do think, again, the camera quality is much more crisp with this model than it is with the Aurora series, and that's something that really bugged me about that. You can see plenty of power to do these maneuvers. They're hovering at probably about 40%, something like that, and it just generally felt like it was flying more in the air, whereas with that X86 it was more like struggling against gravity to keep it in the air. Not with this one, but like I say, not crazy amount of power, just the right amount, really, you know. So there you go, that is my review of the Dys Elf. I will put a link in the description if you wish to get one. Flight time is really good. Like I say, this flight about 4 minutes 30 or something like that, and this was really windy conditions, fighting against the wind, so I can see a 5 to 6 minute flight happening easily. But as always, I'll leave you with some flying. Thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.